So the mask really represents the whole like to rebel against the trying to sell the product as a human being. You know what I mean? It's more of a sound. So and at the same time, it's something different. You know what I'm saying? And it fits with the theme of the rebel, the villain.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Music Gauntlet channel. I hope you all are having a wonderful day so far, and I hope you had an alright 2020. I know it was hard to make the best out of a truly awful year, but I'm just glad it's over. There can finally be a sense of normalcy in America.
These are pro-Trump supporters who have taken to the steps of the Capitol right now. It is unclear if Capitol Police are outnumbered at this hour. We have a team of correspondents that is following this developing story.
What you gonna do, huh? I truly have no idea when we can finally put a close and have control over the coronavirus. Though there are some vaccines in circulation right now, they should reach the public within mid-2021, or at least I'm praying that's the case. And I wouldn't bring this up, I wouldn't damper on this if it didn't have a direct relation to media. And it was very interesting this past 2020 how different media platforms had to adapt to what was currently going on in the world. There being two big ones in my eyes, the first being how it impacted movies and how we watched them. Within the blink of an eye, theaters almost became completely obsolete. Obviously, you couldn't go in there because it was such an enclosed space, but then you saw such a boom for on-demand streaming. We've seen this a lot recently with Soul being released on Disney Plus and Wonder Woman 84 being released on HBO Max. Oh, and we remember Mulan, Disney Plus. Don't think we forgot about Mulan. And of course, the second media platform has to be with music. Just like you couldn't go to the theaters to watch a movie, you couldn't tour off of an album that you released and have people go to your concert because that's a big no-no. Which is what deterred bigger acts from releasing albums this year, or at least pushing them back until they felt the time was right. Hence why Lady Gaga was supposed to drop in early 2020 but pushed it into the second half, and why One Republic pushed their album back until this year entirely. You would think with the pandemic going on and with there being such a dry spell over the summer that there just was going to be a complete dry 2020 as far as music goes. But I don't know what it was, but it seemed like in the second half of the year a lot of artists just released music that they had been working on. They released music that they no longer wanted to just keep from their fans. So despite the crap fest that 2020 was, it gave us a lot of music. Some bad, yes, but for the most part, pretty dang good. For the most part, I was pretty satisfied with the quality that came out of 2020. I even found myself enjoying a lot of the Hot 100 songs, and that's really rare for me. That being said, this list was pretty difficult putting together. What can I say? I had a lot of favorites. It really was a challenge picking and ranking my favorite songs. But all of last year, I made sure to make tabs on all the music that stood out to me. But after careful consideration, I think I have finally picked out my 20 favorite songs of 2020. I know this video says 12 best songs, but I'm going to add on my 8 honorable mentions as well. But without further ado, let's waste no more time and get straight into my first of several lists to come, kicking things off with Now let's get into our top slots, starting with number 12. really didn't know what to expect after her appearance on Kanye West's Ghost Town off of Ye. I was genuinely curious after securing such a high-profile featured slot. Was this going to be the high point for her? Was she going to drown in nothingness after this? And while her projects individually haven't blown me away, there have been certain songs that I've heard here and there that have just truly not necessarily blown me away, but have impressed me. Until now. Now I'm blown away. I know the lyrics aren't entirely original due to it being an 1870s song and Nirvana putting their own spin on it as well, but it doesn't change the fact that yes, it has been done before and you may have heard the Nirvana song before, but the way that 070 Shake delivers her lines on the song is cold-blooded. While retelling this old tale, she also makes it sound almost futuristic as well. The dramatic buildup in the song is incredible, and the use of instrumentation combined against Shake's vocals is just, it gives me goosebumps every time I hear it if I have my headphones up loud enough. If you don't know the original tale that she's referencing here, then I would read it, but at your own risk, because it's pretty dark with no redemption arc. It's a transportive song that makes you feel anxious and mesmerized at the same time. I love the brass section in the background. For some reason paints the image of just a hot day in Egypt to me, and I'm so glad this came out right at the beginning of 2020, so I had this song throughout the whole entire year because, man, it fueled my exercise. Modus Vivendi was not one of my favorite projects of last year, but by this is one of my favorite songs, and it keeps growing on me. As many times as I've heard it, it keeps getting better and better. If she can keep making songs like these, even if they are covers, then I'm all here for it. I am definitely keeping an eye out for what she releases in the future. But let's move on to number 11. I think the perfect description for this song was already written by somebody in the comments section on the Genius lyrics for this song, stating, "Thanks for the complete annihilation of my feels, this one hit it hard." And yeah, I agree, this one did hit it very hard. Just a Kid is the closing track on side B of Princess Nokia's double album Everything is Beautiful and Everything Sucks. And with the atmospheric production, it definitely feels like it is the final track on these double albums. It feels like it's wrapping everything up that you just heard. Its bare bones are a pretty basic trap beat, but the background instrumental makes it feel like it's the final scene before the end credits. And then we have the real stinger, Princess Nokia's lyrics. Ooh, baby. I mean, at first you think she's just talking about how she had aspirations as a kid, she saw her life being better than it was. But with a blink of an eye, she just transitions into getting real deep and personal about the way that she was brought up and how she was an orphan at one point, how she had drug-addicted parents, how her grandma died and she was in her grandma's care. Just this wild past that keeps snowballing and snowballing to the point where you're like, I can't take much more of this, Princess Nokia, I really can't. Until these last couple of lines that reminds you that the whole point of this song wasn't for you to feel bad for her as much as it was for you to realize that if she can make it out of that shitty position, you can make it out of almost anything. The delivery was a little monotone, but the way that she had her tone adjusted, it sounded as though she was happy that these things happened because it made her into the person she is today. Of course, not wishing this past on anybody, but being over the fact that it happened. Being the last song on this side of the album, I remember listening to it and just having my jaw wide open with how fast things escalated in the lyrics. Just an extremely personal moment from an artist that left me floored. And I wish that was the only time I had to say that about songs on this list, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Speaking of which, let's move on to number 10. I'm telling you, Dr. Dot, Johnny Venus, and Jid, one of the best hip-hop trios of all time. I stand by that. This is the first official song off of Spillage Village's Spilligion, and boy does it set the tone for the rest of the project. There are some religious overtones here, having the idea of baptism be recontextualized to mean giving a lyrical education, which plays into the themes overall, questioning why these things happen to black people in America if God is looking after them. Each of them very cleverly weave together bars about them bragging and bars that have to do with police brutality that is such a major issue in America right now. Essentially, now these artists are taking it upon themselves. They see it as their role, being such a high personnel, to tell people what is going on and the way that you need to look at these situations that are happening. Not that you have to do what they're telling you to do, but just them trying to give you some advice and take heed for what this world is like. And oh yeah, did I mention this track slaps? From a hard-hitting bass to some trickling piano keys to a hellish demon screaming in your ears once in a while, these guys just know the perfect production that they can just destroy with their flow, rhyme schemes, lyrics. Not to mention this wavy, psychedelic ending to the song that makes you feel like you're getting abducted by aliens. All of them had extremely strong verses, but I gotta say, I think Dr. Dot had my favorite. He has extremely good imagery, and him talking about a police officer shooting somebody in cold blood and then getting a Christmas bonus for it. Great stuff. One of the many high points on the Spilligion album that you should definitely check out, and one where I'd like to think Barack Obama was actually in the studio with them, cheering them on and giving them a thumbs up right before Johnny Venus was about to rap, even though that's probably not true. Anyways, let's move on to to number 9. The first track off of the band Samia's debut project, The Baby, this track instantaneously drew me into the project. If you could make the buildup of a song into a song, then I would say this is a prime example of that. Samia, also the name of the lead vocalist, clarifies the song being about her just sitting in a pool staring at the moon, knowing this moment can't last forever, but just enjoying it while it lasts. And the production matches that feeling so well. Tell me you have not had that moment before. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a pool, it could just be anywhere where it's late at night, you're just looking up at the sky and you're thinking, can't this moment last forever? This moment of peacefulness while there's nothing else going on and nothing else I have to worry about. All intertwined are these human thoughts ranging from something petty like when will I get taller to something more serious like how much more time do I have with my dog. All the while, Samia's gentle vocals are the vessel that's guiding you through the track. Gentle here, yes, but if you listen to other songs in the album, you'll get a range of emotions through her vocals, which is actually quite impressive, especially since she seems like a younger singer, even though I don't have an exact age on that. The gradual buildup, including this very slow tempo that never speeds up, but it does get more intense with the vocal layering, all aids in the overall immersion experience for the listener. And I gotta mention this low-key, high-pitched vocal line that comes in every now and again. I truly don't know why it's so intriguing for me, but it aids in the experience overall. It served as a great opener for this album, and it served as a great standalone song, and proved to be true as I listened to it constantly throughout 2020. I took a chance listening to this indie record, not sure if I was going to like the album or not, but I am so glad I did. It's hectic but relaxing, overall just a fantastic song. I cannot wait for what Samia's future is like. But let's keep it pushing, moving on to number 8. 2020 was the year that rapper Logic decided that he was going to retire after dropping his last album, No Pressure. And I, along with a lot of other people, were like, alright buddy, well, I'll believe it when I see it. And while a lot of songs exemplified Logic at his peak care and peak interest for rapping, no song quite convinced me he was going to retire, and then came Heard 'Em Say. It's essentially a lyrical moment and just a moment overall on the song where I feel like it's the equivalent of this moment.
This is my fucking speech. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the industry for shitting on me every step of the way because you only made me stronger. Thank you to every single fan that showed support and loved me over the years.
There are no lyrics that directly address his retirement, but that's part of the impact. Through the lyrics and vocal delivery, you can almost hear the tears running down Logic's face of joy as he can finally say, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore, and I have the choice to because I made it out of my shitty upbringing, I don't have to grind anymore. There are some songs that just tell you to do better, but this song you can just feel the influence upon you. It's almost as if he's so sincere on this track that he just can't help but let it hurt him a little bit. There are inspirational bars all over this thing, and it never feels forced at all. It's almost letting you envision a supercut of Logic's whole entire career. What really makes this song so fantastic to me though is the Chris Thompson Heard 'Em Say sample. Having a bunch of kids chanting in unison what their placement is in this world and if they have a placement at all. It's incorporated seamlessly and really drives home the theme. The song was influenced by Kanye West, with the name of the song being one that was off of Late Registration, and also incorporating that sonic production element that sounds like a wooden bat hitting a baseball, like what was on his Graduation album with the track Good Morning. Overall, I was just left stunned because I wasn't expecting this song, let alone this album, to be as good as it was, coming after some questionable releases. But if this really is Logic's final sign-off, then I'd say he executed it pretty damn well, and this track is a prime example of that. Let's go ahead and move on to number 7. When I said in my review this is one of my favorite A$AP Rock songs of all time, I was not kidding, in the slightest. On A$AP Rock's 8th studio album, Spirit World Field Guide, he has several songs in the project in which he details different journeys that he's taken to different countries. The first of which, Pizza Alley, is about his trip to Peru, the second, Holy Waterfall, is about his trip to Cambodia, and then We Are Here, Sleeper Car, on his trip to Thailand. What a hellish nightmare this song is, truly. And I mean that in the best way possible. His other two trips were a lot more enlightening, a lot more spiritually awakening, and a positive light. Here, Rock is thrown into an absolute spiraling death pit. He starts to realize that these people live so carelessly and without fear of death that it feels like he's on a completely different planet. There are a fair amount of moments on the song where he reports almost dying there, but yet by the time he returns home, he feels like he needs to relive that process all over again to become whole. He even goes as far to say that his relationship with God is withering due to God not being there for him a lot of the times, and that he finds more peace tending to an elephant than he does actually praying to the Lord. And of course, he describes all of this over an extremely nightmarish beat. I've said it before, the hair-raising synths, the dirty drum line, the production element that sounds like somebody is stomping on a bagpipe, and those eerie opening organ keys all work together in unison for this truly sinister feel. It allows you to picture the madness that is happening around A$AP Rock while it's also happening around you. It makes you sit back and think like, how the hell is he riding this beat right now? It reminds me of a Danny Brown Atrocity exhibition scenario where this beat is so off kilter that you gotta wonder, how are you flowing over this right now, dude? But he pulled it off and in my opinion, released one of his best songs to date. But let's go ahead and move on to number 6. I really don't think anybody saw this coming from Joji whatsoever. Of course, he was going to stick to his gothic R&B ballads, but Run takes that 10 steps further by having such lush production and such fragility in Joji's vocals. I kind of slept on Sanctuary when it came out in 2018, but I heard this song and I saw a lot of positive reception that it was getting, so I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And wow, just wow. This song was such an impressive step up for Joji's sound that I was convinced the album he was releasing with it, Nectar, was going to be just as good. And while there were a decent amount of high points on the project, I would say none of them truly surpassed this moment here. Again, we have to talk about imagery here, and the way that Joji does this in sync with the instrumental is just mwah, chef's kiss gorgeous. The scenario here is Joji was in love with this girl, however he saw the demise of that relationship happen. As much as he tries to reconnect with her, one of them ends up running in the end because they know that they are not a good match for each other and that love no longer is there. I like the imagery he proposes with the lines, yeah, my love is a fool and I traveled the country just to get to you, because it proves that this is not just a one-sided thing, and if anything, Joji's way more invested than this girl is, in the sense that despite how this always ends anytime they try and reconnect, he is not afraid to do it because he misses that love so much, even if that means traveling to see her only to leave shortly after. And I just love how intense this gets during the chorus when you have this beat drop from the drums and you also have Joji doing these harmonic vocal layers. It makes you feel like you're getting this crystal ball look into the exact moment when Joji was running away from this love that he sought out so desperately. I'm truly impressed how Joji doesn't have the most diverse vocal range, but he's able to accomplish so much with it. And you know I couldn't skip talking about it. That guitar solo at the end of the song, fantastic. I don't see a credit for who played this instrumental, and I don't think Joji plays guitar. I could be wrong on that, but either way it adds a nice bow on top of the song. I'm still playing the song to this day. I have not gotten enough of it, and I'm just excited to see where Joji goes from here. In general, his song creativity has just gotten stronger and stronger, so I'm really looking forward to it. But let's keep it going with number 5. If there was one main act to defy 2020, it was Gorillaz. I don't know if the album Strange Times was planned as a result of all these singles or if they were just planning on releasing a bunch of singles, but either way, they stuck to the plan they set out to do. Like, no matter how shitty 2020 got, there was always a Gorillaz single here and there to brighten your spirits. I loved Momentary Bliss, I loved Desolate, but this was the single I heard. I believe it was halfway through the summer, and I was just like, damn. It's so creative, the concept of the song. Basically viewing the world in different levels where you can achieve more if you play the game. But it's also emphasized how playing that game and trying to achieve higher levels can also be to your detriment. How it's entirely possible to get to a high level, fall down, and then get to that level again just like a roller coaster. It cleverly incorporates sound bites of the actual Pac-Man video game, allowing 2D within the first couple of lyrics here to describe a world in which he feels stuck in place. It doesn't matter what level he gets to, he's going to be stuck in this same game that everybody's playing, leading into a trippy build where afterwards we get arguably the best part of the song, Schoolboy Q.
I shattered my thoughts to get out my shell. Why would I hold my tongue to tuck in my tails?
It's not just the rhyme scheme and charisma that makes Schoolboy Q's part so great. It's his description of his past where he talks about sustaining a certain level but not being able to do so for very long before getting knocked down a few pegs. Whether that be from envious friends or corrupt police, either way it always had him on edge. I love the line he has where he talks about how the trauma of his past taught him to not fear heights, because having that fear is what's going to make you remain stagnant. The potency of Schoolboy Q's lyrics makes this song one to never forget. It's why I liked the other Gorillaz singles, but this one stuck out the most to me because of just how sharp the whole song was overall. It sounds cool, yeah, but the underlining meanings are what makes me appreciate the song even more. In both the case of the Gorillaz and Schoolboy Q, I am definitely looking forward to see what their futures are like. They're both at prime positions in their careers. Now let's move on to number 4. That personal moment that left me floored, yep, you guessed it. Just what a... It's almost hard to talk about with how great this song is, but with all the contextualization that's around it. In 2020, we got the posthumous music of Mac Miller right at the beginning of the year in January. And, you know, part of me didn't want this song and album to be as good as it is, so I didn't have to come back to it and relive that pain, but you can't just ignore the quality that's here. What's so mind-boggling and insane about this song is that it sounds like Mac Miller knew what was going to happen to him before it even happened. I don't mean to paint any dark imagery, but it sounds as if this is a suicide note that somebody left behind. It's not all negative though, because the song acts as something to take heed from. It's a reminder that your favorite artist is human after all, and you can't be putting so much pressure on them to deliver unrealistic standards, let alone for that artist to be in a good mood 24/7. Being in such an idolized position can allow for a great detachment from reality. Not necessarily intentional, but it just happens when you get swept up in the lifestyle. It's so tough because in an artist's mind, you can't be personally happy unless you're making other people happy. Your career is centered around the entertainment of other people, so if other people are dissatisfied, you can't help but want to try and fix that. You can rise above this feeling, but like I said, it's easy to get swept away and think that this is the absolute right thing to do. Lines where he talks about wanting to get out of his own way and how he's so tired of being so tired are just absolutely chilling in more than one way. The plucky guitar strings and playful usage of the xylophone help elevate the mood so it's not a totally somber song, and considering the mastering for this album was done past his passing, I would assume it's only natural that this sounds like it is some kind of field in heaven where you have these butterflies flying around you and you think in your mind, is this even real? You feel like you're floating on a cloud through the entirety of this song, and by the time it's over, you're left just wanting more and wondering more as well. I think there was a mention of another posthumous Mac Miller album on the way, but regardless, this album and specifically this song were a perfect send-off. But let's keep moving now on to our final slots with number 3. Shout out to Lil Baby for holding it down on the Billboard Hot 100 with his protest song, The Bigger Picture, but you gave me the option between that song and Pig Feet. It's the latter any day of the week. The difference is Lil Baby is rapping from the perspective of people on a picket line raising up signs, not taking no shit. But what's happening on Pig Feet is you're getting thrown into the madness. You are getting thrown into the battlefield. You are visually hearing what it is like to be a black man in America, with Terrace Martin including all these gunshots happening left and right, having these crowd screams of people just running around in chaos, having individual people running up to other people saying that somebody else that they know was shot. Until the quite literal end credits roll, you are locked into everything that is happening. I'm a huge fan of Denzel Curry, and I'm not trying to pin these two verses against each other. However, Daylight had an absolutely phenomenal verse that left my head spinning with the rhyme scheme and everything. But it's hard to say that, as I mentioned, because they work so well in tandem. Denzel kills me with the lines, 10 years plus 4, little kids die at war, mama wants me baptized, swimming in this blood shore, shut down schools to open drugs and gun stores. On the same song where Daylight raps, hold on to life, we don't go for the house reps, they done trapped us in the alphabet, our alphas can't get out the net. Oh shit. Ooh, I had to extinguish a flame just from reading that. Now take these extremely raw and potent lyrics and put them over Kamasi Washington going apeshit on the saxophone, sprinkle on the aforementioned police brutality sound effects from the likes of Terrace Martin, who also brings an unorthodox drum set and a tuba played on the lowest note possible. You get one of the most hard-hitting songs of 2020, if not of all time. There was a lot of protest music to come out of 2020 due to all the events that were happening, and just in general, I'm grateful for that being the case. There's no perfect way to deliver this message, but it's the ones that do so while also making you feel something in the process that are so outstanding to me. There is a lot of power in unity, but one of the first steps in doing so is recognizing the true gravity of the problem. The song warrants the aggression that it has because it's like grabbing somebody on the shoulders and being like, hey buddy, this is a serious problem, wake the f up. Considering Terrace is known more so for being a producer, he did not have to make this track at all, but he had a vision for what he wanted this song to sound like and what he wanted to happen, and I just gotta compliment him for following through on his vision and creating such a great song out of it. Of course, police brutality is is far from a solved issue, and I'm glad we have a song like this to remind you that it's nothing to take lightly. Really a stellar track, and one that I constantly have gone back to throughout all of 2020 since it dropped. But let's keep going now on to our final couple of slots with number 2. Ah, wee wee. Yeah, this was definitely my feel-good pick of the year, like no doubt. This song elevated my mood so much almost on every listen I had. Chillin' in the summertime, exercise, partying with some friends. This song met almost every single occasion. I don't even know where to start with this one. The punchlines, the chemistry, the flow, the instrumental, the sample, it all comes together for one of the hardest bangers I've ever heard. I've never been the biggest fan of record scratching. Like, I don't know, maybe I just never appreciated it as much as I do now, but hearing it in a modern context with DJ Premier at the end of this song, holy hell. I'm not sure if anything got me more hype in 2020 than listening to this song on full blast while watching the music video. This is a hip-hop song in which there are no weak elements about it. Instead, each work to greatly enhance the other, much alike to the chemistry that LP and Killer Mike have. You can tell they're always trying to match each other and push each other just a little bit further depending on what the song's about. I could have picked just about any song off of RTJ4 to appear on this list, but I chose Ooh La La because it's the perfect mixture of social commentary while also just having some fun with it. Case in point, the first couple of lines from Killer Mike on verse 4, a king or queen and all they loyal subjects, I pull my penis out and I piss on their shoes in public. You cannot recreate the skill level these guys are on right now. You just can't. With LP coming through with some of the most forward-thinking hip-hop production I've ever heard, and both of them coming through to collaborate on lyrics that just rip a track apart, honestly, nobody's fucking with them right now. Nobody is messing with Run the Jewels. They are just a complete entity on their own. But more on that later. Hard-hitting bass, a piano loop that makes you feel like your adrenaline is going 100 miles per hour, the looped backing chant, the schizophrenic siren, and a duo that makes you want to scream screw the system even if you don't know directly what the cause is for. With the song this powerful, this lethal, this impactful, how could anything top it? Well, let's move on, shall we? Number 1.
I know. Isn't it beautiful?
It had to be. I'm sorry, but it absolutely had to be. At least top 3 back when I heard it way in March. I'm somebody that doesn't like to hear all the singles for an album before the album's released, so I heard Heartless and Blinding Lights, but this single came out I think in February for the promotional release of this album, and I refrained. I decided to hear it in the context of the full LP. But despite all the majestic beauty that that album had to offer, there was this one song, this one moment that I was completely transfixed on. I'm willing to admit this partly has to do with my own personal past experiences, but I believe the song is broad enough where everybody can have their own interpretation of it and feel it in their emotions differently. It loosely follows the concept of somebody that is in your life and somebody that you care about so desperately and dearly that you can't imagine not having them around. But looking at the self-destructive nature of The Weeknd presented on the After Hours album, it's very clear that he was probably the reason this relationship fell through. It is apologetic, but not without Abel confessing that this relationship, the demise of it, took a piece of him. It's reminiscent of the first stages of breaking up with somebody when you're just an absolute complete mess. You're lost in your feelings, the world has no meaning, and your house is not a home without your baby. Oh god, I need a minute. No, I'm kidding, but it really is emotional. It's selfish, but he knows it's selfish. He shouldn't be lying to this girl. He shouldn't be planting the ideas in her head that he's the perfect guy for her and it's all gonna be okay when he knows in the back of his head that's not true. But some part of him is addicted to this feeling of being with this person. It's like no other. He doesn't fully love this person enough to commit himself to her, but he can't help but fight the feeling of needing her. Fuck, it's so heavy. Give me one word to describe this song, I'm going with traumatized. The Weeknd genuinely sounds traumatized reliving this just for a song. Not just with the lyrics, but how brittle his vocals are in this song. You know how much The Weeknd can project when he wants to? He chooses to play it so low-key that you're like, dude, are you okay? I don't think there's been a time when The Weeknd has said in my darkest hours on the beat drop where I haven't gotten goosebumps. My god, when he says he'd give it all just to hold this girl close, like, come on, you are not human if that does not hit you in the heart. Ugh, when he says says he'd treat her better than he did before, even though he's not even sure if that's the truth or not, because he says he was lying later on in the song. There's so many good lines. And I haven't even talked about the psychedelic electronic R&B production of this track. This song would honestly be nothing if it was not for the production on here that makes you feel, in short, just lost. The way things are echoing and shimmering, I don't know what kind of black magic Abel pulled out of his bag with this one, but it's incredible. This is a near, I think a little over 6-minute song we're talking about, and I enjoy every second of it, because part of the beauty is hearing the progression of it. You feel like you just went through a whole ass life experience by the time the runtime's over. It's like a nightmare. It starts out scary, gets progressively worse, but before you know it, you're awake. And maybe that's the point. Maybe Abel has these thoughts in the back of his mind and they only resurface when he's dreaming or when he's asleep, laying in bed with nobody by his side. He's forced to think about the mistakes he's made and how or even if he's a changed man. It's entrancing, soul-crushing, has so much emotional weight tied to it, and I'd be lying if I said any other song in 2020 hit me harder than this. The Weeknd continually proves to be an artist that never disappoints. And I guess all I gotta say is thank you. Thank you for going through that emotional pain yet again for our entertainment. It definitely shows and is what propelled the song into my #1 slot. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it all the way into the end, thank you so much for making it. You know I truly appreciate that. I know this was a longer one, but this is a list. We gotta make it thorough. As shown in the beginning of this video, this is just my opinion. I try to be somewhat objective, but it's hard to do so when really music is completely opinionated. But with that being said, I want to know your guys' favorite songs of 2020. You can tell me in the comment section, or you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and we can talk about it there. Links in the description. What songs should have made it? What songs should I have left off? What do you think should be higher, lower? Let me know in the comment section. I want to hear all of it. If you want to leave a like or subscribe, you know I truly appreciate that as well. I have more lists coming. This is just the first of 3, and I'll see you in the next one.
Today is about vengeance. Fuck you, 2020. Get